So what can be done to solve this problem? There are very specific steps that government and private citizens can make to alleviate the problem. First, make sure that you are educating yourself. PickTheBrain.com states, effective online education goes beyond finding answers. It requires you to process numerous information sources, evaluate them based on credibility and relevance, and piece together a mosaic-like picture of the truth. Make sure that you are taking the time to read more than one opinion, more than one article, from more than one website. Remember that all the words and information found online are the products of human thoughts and ideas. While there may be some with which you agree, there will be some with which you will disagree. Take the time to view things from more than one perspective so that you can aggregate your own view within the worlds. One of my favorite quotes of Thomas Jefferson states, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects that what never was and never will be. If we are to guard against ignorance and remain free, it is the responsibility of every American to be informed. Secondly, as it is said for most things, make sure your representatives and senators know your opinions. For censorship happening here in the United States, bills are on the floor frequently in regards to net neutrality. A New York Times article defines net neutrality as the concept that companies providing internet services should treat all sources of data equally. Currently, internet users have equal access to all websites not blocked federally, but some companies are looking to change that. The biggest cable and telephone companies would like to charge money for smooth access to websites, speed to run applications, and permission to plug in devices, as reported by SaveTheInternet.com. This would open up a fast lane for companies that pay a large fee to have their sites accessed and a slow lane for those sites that do not pay the fee. Legislation on net neutrality laws in the United States is almost always filtering through the government. It has been repeatedly blocked due to citizen involvement in the protection of net neutrality and the freedom of access. However, companies are still trying to pass laws that allow them to treat websites and users unfairly, so it is imperative that you continue to voice your opinions to your legislators. At this point, you may be asking yourself, what happens if censorship does not improve or disappear? The question seems almost silly. Currently, the world is experiencing widespread unrest as citizens all over the world rebel against their strict governments. Recently, Egypt experienced a complete takeover in their national regime. The entire movement was a result of corrupt politicians and strict government regulations of freedoms that Egyptian people felt that were owed to them, including internet access. The Egyptian practices of restricting internet usage have not traced back far. In fact, a Reporters Without Borders report found on Wikipedia, pardon that, on Wikipedia states that in 2008, the ONI found no evidence of internet filtering in Egypt, confirming results from 2006 and 2007. It wasn't until recently that the government started restricting the internet. Several cases in 2008 were related to private citizens that started web groups advocating pornography or anti-Islamic ideas. Once riots started, however, Egypt drastically changed its tune. It started by blocking Twitter and Facebook in January and followed up with a complete shutdown of the internet in Cairo by February. Results that were quite possibly as manageable suddenly became empowered with an all-new purpose. Wikipedia quotes as one Egyptian activist succinctly tweeted during the protests there, "We use Facebook to schedule the protests, Twitter to coordinate, and YouTube to tell the world." Now that the world has witnessed the effects of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube on political actions, it can be assured that other governments will have a harder time quelling the internet censorship debate. For instance, in the midst of the rebellions in Egypt and their prolific use of the internet, China has instituted a nationwide ban on similar sites. CNN.com reports that access to Twitter and Facebook have been blocked throughout China for some time. Chinese internet users seek to use Twitter have been forced to access the site through difficult-to-use virtual private networks known as VPNs. In addition, China has blocked access to one of its most popular sites, LinkedIn.com. This website is a Facebook for professionals where people can network with other companies and associates. However, the site also has inside access to Twitter and has now found itself victim to the cause. Instead of the desired effect of quieting dissent, the Chinese as well as onlookers the world over, the ban has only forced a more in-depth look at the legitimacy and fairness of a nationwide block of social networking. In a situation where China has perhaps won anonymity, they may now find themselves the center of a worldwide debate. Now, it is time for you to decide what part of the debate you are on. Instead of encouraging you to stand against the injustice of internet censorship, I would like you to instead take one simple action: educate yourself. Make yourself aware of the current events that will affect your usage of the internet. Make yourself aware of the legislation being discussed every day in the Capitol. Make yourself aware of how the internet affects your life and the way you live. As Albert Einstein stated, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. But let me ask you one thing. When you seek to educate yourself, where do you turn? The internet? Alright. I'm going to open up to... Nice slow 80s clap. I'd like to open up to a little Q&A. So, yes, you.
Okay, so what are the advantages to internet censorship?
Well, I mean, it'll be a more homogenized state of the internet. There's going to be more control over the citizens and what information they find. If you're trying to tell the history that's in history books, then, you know, it'll be worldwide documented. That's the history. That's one way of me putting it down and praising it at the same time. But I mean, you could control who's on the internet at one time. You know, you could choose what age ranges can and cannot be on the internet at certain times too. I hope that answered your question. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Okay, so as a society, we all have laws that keep us from doing harmful things that impact others. Don't you think we at least have to implement some of that on the internet as well to keep from doing harm to people who get on?
Yeah, I believe we need to, but to what extent? Are we going to go, you know, full out like China and have internet police officers popping in every half hour? I mean, most of this country is, you know, you govern yourself to do good. Now, there are police officers that they're there to catch you when you do bad and when you do wrong, but even then, there's not enough people to enforce the law. It's, sorry going philosophical on you, but, you know, the only ones that can really police yourself in this country is yourself.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is,
Yeah.
do you think the internet should just be completely wide open?
No.
Or did they need to have some control?
There needs to be some control. If it's wide open, there's going to be, you know, more child pornography. There's just, it would be like all the dark alleys in every bad
Terrorist
movie
websites.
ever. Terrorist websites, yeah. It's just, there needs to be control,
Okay.
but there doesn't need to be, you know, no control. All right, anyone else? All right, that's it. Thank you very much.
Yay!